everybody, it is April and I'm in my craft room, and today I'm going to tell you a super secret way to cut your fat quarters to get a quilt that looks like this. Can you keep a secret? Shh. I went to Walmart and I just happened upon the Pioneer Woman Christmas fat quarters. They weren't located where the rest of the fabric was. They were more in the Pioneer Woman section. So I grabbed a few and I decided that I wanted to do my super secret cutting tutorial with the Pioneer Woman fabric using a Christmas theme. Let me go through what they are. Now I've separated them out because I have directional fabric. So I want to be a little more particular because I'm using a print or using multiple prints in how I arrange my fat quarters for this project. The fabric I am showing you now is what I'm going to call a non-directional print. I want sugar cookies now. Frosted sugar cookies. The next group of fabric that I'm going to show you, I'm considering my directional prints. So these have to go a certain way. And I've got Maxine helping me. Aren't you, Maxine? Yes, Maxine is helping me. That's what we'll call it, helping. Now these I'm going to call my solids. Okay, scoot. And I'll explain why I want a solid stack shortly. The next step is to cut all of our fat quarters to the same size. 18 by 21 is kind of the standard. I will probably have to go a little smaller than 18 by 21, but let's get out the ruler and see what happens. Neglected to tell you, I have already pressed these. Who ever thought that you would hear those words come out of my mouth? Miracles do happen. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to straighten one side of my fat quarter. And I want to make sure that I get all of my stack in. And now I have a straight edge. And even if it isn't straight, we are going to pretend like it is. So I'm going to use this line on my mat, which I also assume to be straight. And then I'm going to cut off this end. So now I have two straight sides. Again, I will line my straight side up. I have one more side. I will do the same thing with my other two stacks, and I will be back to show you what comes next. Once you've cut your first set of fat quarters, you want to measure so that the next set you cut and the next set you cut are the same size. So this is not quite 21 by 17 and a half. I want to make sure that the next set of fat quarters that I cut are that size. Now, if for some reason they're really wonky and I have to cut them smaller, then I will have to adjust the size of the other fat quarters. As you can see, I have arranged my fat quarters. Again, it's a little unconventional because I've got these directional fabrics. I am turning them all on what I'm going to call their side. To me, it's their side. Anyway, and I have sewn these three together. What I will do is I will sew these three together, those three, and those three, and then I'm going to stop and I'm going to show you the super secret way to cut your fat quarters to make them not look anything like fat quarters. So I have my fat quarter row, and as you have probably guessed already, I am going to cut it into multiple strips. But what you may not have figured out is how. So I could lay this out, take out my ruler, decide how far over I wanted to go, line it up, and cut, and drag it down, line it up, cut. Okay, you get the idea. Instead of doing that, I'm going to fold my row in half long ways. I'm going to make sure that the seams on the top of the fold and underneath the fold line up. Then I'm going to go one step further, and I'm going to fold it again and fold it again, making sure that all of the edges line up and that I don't have any creases that are going to cause me a problem. And you want your rotary cutter to be nice and sharp when you do this. And do not take your ruler up until you've cut all the way through. Now I have this row and a skinnier row and another skinny row. So instead of just having one row of these particular prints, I have multiple. This is what I called my solid row. And the reason that I wanted a solid row was so that I could put this in between other rows if prints that were too busy were placed next to one another. Now this one I'm going to fold a little differently. So I'm going to fold over this half, then I'm going to fold over this half. So I'm going to fold it again, make sure my sides line up. It's a little harder to do this with your fat quarters being long ways. That doesn't mean you can't, it's just you have to be a little bit more careful about everything lining up. But what my goal is to line it up in such a way that I only have to cut one time. And it's kind of a surprise because you're not really sure how wide your strips are going to be. So here I have a strip that looks like this. Here I have a strip that looks like this. Now somewhere I've got some skinny strips. Here is a skinny strip. Here is a really skinny strip that I will probably just toss. And here is a skinny strip. And you don't have to leave them facing this way. You can flip them. And if you don't want to match all your seams, you can take one strip and offset it if you don't mind losing some of your width. And with this, I don't mind losing an inch of my width because this is already over 60 inches wide, and I'm going to use a border. Here is how I plan on assembling my quilt. As you notice, this strip is the same as this strip, but I flipped it. Because it's not directional, I could flip it. The same with this. I was able to have the flowers on the one side on that row and flowers on this side. One more thing you can do, and again, this is just extra. It is not necessary. I just happen to want to throw it in there. I had this fabric sitting in my stash. It's from Benartex. I had it in my Christmas fabric, and I think it's because it's got snowflakes on it. It doesn't really say anything about Christmas, but it says Christmas to me, and I think it matches pretty well. Another thing that I can do with this fabric is I can cut a skinny strip or 2 or a fat strip or 10, and I can put some more strips or rows in between just to break it up a little bit more. And then I will also be using this for my border. So you can see I added that neutral that was from Yardage here and here. I can't even see where it is. Here and there. So I'm going to sew all of this together, and I'll come back and show you the finished product. I'll also be adding this fabric as a border around the outside. 2 things just in case you decide to leave early. I have a big surprise coming up during the first 12 days of December. I can't tell you any more than that, but come back, make sure you keep checking in, because I will give you more information as I can give it to you. I will give you more information. Yeah, anyway. I don't remember what the second thing was. Be right back. My quilt tops are complete. This quilt with 12 fat quarters, it is a pretty substantial quilt, but I am really pleased with the way that it turned out. I always say that. Not always, sometimes I'm not, but I like this. I think that the different fabrics, even though there are prints and it is a little busy, I think adding the border around and then having a few of these pieces interspersed throughout just kind of brings the whole thing together. And you know, you cannot go wrong with the Pioneer Woman. Just saying. This is 9 fat quarters. I like it too. It didn't take as long. The border brings everything together. And you could also spruce it up with some of the border in between the rows. This is the simplest version, and then this just takes the super secret cutting of your fat quarter so that it doesn't look like a fat quarter to a new level. Have a great day, eat some chocolate, and be kind to everyone. And subscribe if you want to help my channel grow. Thanks, bye. Today's chocolate is a Kit Kat. Oops, sorry, Kit Kat. You can't go wrong with a Kit Kat. Mint Kit Kats, those are really good. Wafer, chocolate. They weren't in with the regular, having trouble, on an end cap with the Pioneer Woman accessories, kitchen stuff. And when I was putting them